Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here, and in today's video we are going to be talking about Coyote, Old Man Coyote, the trickster spirit, and it's going to be a really interesting video. I'm going to cover a lot of different bases, but before I do, I have to say, if you want to go do a deep dive in this topic, which I highly recommend you do, just for a million reasons, there's a book written by Dan Flores called Coyote America. I cannot recommend it enough. I buy copies for people, and I'll tell you the best way to read it. I go on all these expeditions to all these archaeological sites around the American Southwest. And when I do, I listen to the audiobook of Coyote America at 1.5 speed, so it's going a little fast, and you can just get through it, and it's the most comprehensive book ever written on coyotes. Every aspect, mythologically, biologically, prehistorically, historically, the expansion, and it is absolutely mind-boggling and mind-expanding. There are things that you had no idea, you didn't know. And I think for people to have a proper understanding of the history and prehistory of the American Southwest, and even also Mexico and Canada and just everything to even understand, it's really important to listen to or read this book. It's also very important to be able to understand kind of our attitude toward animals and predators and how they change and how and why they are the way they are, and to realize that there's actual campaigns put in place by specific groups for specific reasons, that it's good to be aware of some of what's actually gone on. It's kind of sad when you find out the truth behind some of this history. And I think we should be able to have informed opinions and make informed decisions. And so, again, I cannot recommend this book enough. Coyote America by Dan Flores, and again, audiobook on a road trip, best way to go. So, who is Coyote? I say Coyote, not a coyote, because for most Native American tribes, Coyote is many different terms. So saying, if you see a coyote and you're like, look, there's Coyote, not a coyote, it's Coyote. Coyote, an Old Man Coyote, is a coyote, every coyote, and also Old Man Coyote at the same time. It's one and the same, and that might take a little bit to kind of wrap your head around. But if you're talking in those terms, if you see a coyote and you're like, oh, I saw a coyote today, then it's not just, oh, it's a coyote, it's an individual of a biological entity going along. No. It means something very different, because coyote is the original trickster spirit. Now, if you understand mythology, trickster spirits, every culture's mythology has trickster spirits. Now, usually deity figures are good or bad. They're good, and they're focused on teaching you to be a better person, or teaching you better follow our rules and make offerings to us, or else you're going to get in trouble, or you're going to go to hell, or something's going to happen, right? So there's these deity figures, and then there's negative deity figures that are maybe destructive, or they're devilish, or they're bent on your downfall, or the languishing of your crops, or the lack of rain, or the lack of the herds returning. So there's kind of good versus evil. But there's always, every culture always has trickster spirits. This is kind of just summed down to the trickster. If you even just go on like Wikipedia, you can see huge lists of cultures, and it's a tiny list of their trickster spirits. Always had them. So in mythology and anthropology, we refer to this idea, this conceptual being, as trickster or the trickster. He appears even in modern media, which I'll get to in a second. The trickster is the avatar god, meaning he doesn't teach you to be good, he doesn't teach you to be bad. He's not like trying to help you or trying to hurt you. He's both, and he's right in the middle, because he's an avatar of us. He's a reflection of us. Everything good and bad about humans, everything noble and inspiring, and everything reprehensible and unfortunate about humans will be found in the trickster spirit. You never know from the trickster spirit if they're going to help you or if they're going to hurt you. They're always one step ahead of the game, but they get themselves into trouble as much as they are doing things that are self-centered. So they're self-centered, but they're also magnanimous and helpful. So let me give you a few examples of these in more modern culture. One has been around for hundreds of years, and that is the myth of Robin Hood. Now, Robin Hood, is probably based off of a historical character. I've done a lot of research into Robin Hood, but the myth has evolved over time, but he's always an entry-level trickster spirit. So what do I mean by that? Well, Robin Hood is both good and bad. He robs from the rich, but he robs. So he is a thief. And in some, he's even killing people. But he's also helping. He's helping the poor. Now, when you see, he's also well known for his disguises. That's a shapeshifter. I love the Disney Robin Hood version. Of course, I grew up with that as a little kid, right? Where Robin Hood's depicted as a fox. No, fox is one of the original trickster spirits in many cultures. So it stands to reason that you would have a fox be a Robin Hood. And what does he do? He's wearing disguises, like he goes and disguises himself as a stork, and he goes and he disguises himself as a vulture. And it's comical, it's funny, but coyote myths, trickster myths, are supposed to be funny. They're supposed to be entertaining. They're supposed to teach us. In Native American lore, Old Man Coyote always says, who better to teach the people what not to do by doing it. That's what trickster spirits do. They do things that are right and wrong at the same time. And so you never know what to expect. So I love that with Robin Hood. Robin Hood is just kind of, again, an entry level, because in more recent times, like in the past 300 years, Robin Hood has become more of a good guy. But the original telling of the tales, he was equal part good and bad, and you never know where that's going to fall. But we love that. And probably the best example in modern media is Captain Jack Sparrow. For the Pirates of the Caribbean series, Captain Jack Sparrow 100% perfectly embodies the trickster. Jack Sparrow, he's always looking out for himself, first and foremost, and he might stab you in the back. But he also might come in and rescue and help you, and you're like, was that your plan all along? Geez, I don't know. He's witty, he's smart, he's crafty, but he's also an idiot and always making the dumbest mistakes and getting himself into trouble. And a key element of a trickster is to be always a little bit ahead. You're gonna screw up a bunch and you're gonna succeed a bunch, but you're gonna succeed just a little bit more than the amount that you fail, just enough to be up a little bit. And that's a key element of a trickster. But this is the truth of our lives. Our lives, we go through and we blunder through our lives. We make mistakes and we have heroic and triumphant moments. Sometimes we do things that are very self-centered, and we might even stab somebody in the back. But at the same time, we do things that are very helpful and lift other people and do magnanimous things. So this is why trickster spirits are always so popular, because we see ourselves in them. If you are seeing a deity figure like a god, like a Zeus, or a god of the Abraham of the Bible, for in the Bible, Christianity, these figures of God are noble and higher than us. We might aspire to some of those attributes, but we're not there. And we're also don't view ourselves as the devil. We don't view ourselves as being evil or a person of darkness, but we see ourselves in Coyote. So the Coyote myths, there are many, many cultures. And if you read Dan Flores's book, you're going to get a great history, the perfect history written down on how coyotes have expanded. People just assume that they've always been all over the place. They haven't. It goes back in the 1400s and the documents of when coyotes spread and how and why, and how they actually chose us, and how every major city in the world now does have a every major city in America and most of Mexico now does have coyotes in them, just roaming around doing their thing. They don't care. So coyotes are a very interesting species. They evolved from a wolf. Pre-Ice Age, they were a wolf, and as the climatic conditions changed towards the end of the Ice Age, you can go two directions. You can either continue doing what you're doing, which is what wolves do. Wolves are pack hunters. They're obligate pack hunters. They must hunt together. This is the way we're going to take down large prey together. Or, if you're starting to see a reduction in prey base, you switch to being what's called a fission-fusion species. A fission-fusion species is a species like, I'm hunting alone, or maybe with my mate, and we'll just do our own thing, and we can even go be partially herbivorous. We're gonna eat some fruit, we're gonna eat a few plants here and there. We're gonna hunt small animals like prairie dogs and squirrels and voles and rats and mice. That's mostly what we're gonna eat. Maybe some rabbits and some things like that. But if we want to, we can pair up with other coyotes and bring down a bigger animal, like a deer, if we need to. And so that precipitated having coyotes become smaller. So coyotes are much smaller than you would expect, and they have thrived as such. So they can punch up or they can punch down. We can hunt together, we can hunt alone. We can hunt big things, we can hunt small things. And coyotes have thrived. They always just keep going. We have done so much to eradicate them in America. There is no predator in the history of the world, and if you see, this is well documented in this book. The amount of effort that humanity has put to eradicating coyote has been fruitless. And in fact, they do roll call every night where they'll howl, and if they don't hear a lot of howls back in the distance, something happens. This has been documented from a coyote facility in Logan, Utah, that breeds and did tests on them and stuff. And it turns out, if they don't hear howls back, something happens in the females and their body will produce more offspring. So they'll know, oh no, there's fewer coyotes, we gotta start producing more. So coyotes are survivors. Wolves, any region they've been in, have been very easy to eradicate very quickly. Coyotes aren't. Foxes too. Foxes can be wiped clean from an area quickly. Coyotes cannot. Coyotes are smart. They're clever, they're tricksters, they always find a way out of a situation, and they just keep on surviving. So Old Man Coyote is something we have that we can learn from. In Native American culture, he's always getting into trouble, but he's always doing amazing things as well. If you look at the coyote cartoons, the old Looney Tunes coyote cartoons where Coyote's always chasing Roadrunner, these really are in the actual spirit of the old Native American traditions of coyote, that he's always trying to get ahead, but he's always screwing up, and bad things are happening to him that we laugh at, because that's laughing at ourselves. This is an avatar god. We're laughing back at ourselves. We're like, yeah, we try so hard, and yet, God, we're idiots. We're always screwing up and always, it's not one thing, it's another. We have that. And we can laugh at ourselves by seeing a reflection of ourselves in Coyote. Now, in these Coyote myths, sometimes Coyote helps us. And again, every culture that has a Coyote myth is going to be a little bit different. But across the board, he is always both good and bad, like Captain Jack Sparrow. He did a lot of things. For example, anciently there are myths that he brought fire and stole it and brought it to the people so that we could have warmth and we could cook our food. And I think he was punished for it, and his tail was singed in the process, but he was helping us out. There's myths where he even brought humanity into the world. But again, the whole principle of Coyote is he's not a role model of what to do. He's a mirrored reflection of what we are. And looking at yourself in the mirror can give you insight into how you are living. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing as mistakes? How am I screwing up? How am I missing the mark? And also, what am I doing good? What am I doing that's noble? And what better things could I do that are also noble, that I want to nurture that part of myself? Coyote, there is an argument to be made that Coyote, Old Man Coyote, is probably the longest continuously worshipped deity figure of any kind. The Epic of Gilgamesh doesn't go back nearly as far as the Coyote tales. We have reason to believe Coyote goes back all the way to the Ice Age. The only possible exception is the rainbow serpent of Dreamtime mythology in Australia, Aboriginal Australia. The rainbow serpent is as long, if not maybe longer, than Coyote. But again, we don't have written records, so we can only go off of petroglyphs and pictographs and the oral traditions handed down. But it seems like the two oldest deity figures are the rainbow serpent, which is a very nebulous figure and not very well defined, and Old Man Coyote. And the concept too with Old Man Coyote is that Coyote's personal religion is sacred existence. That what do? We exist. And so Normally, the beginning of every coyote myth starts with Old Man Coyote was going along. And that's what we do. We go along. We keep living. We keep finding a way to live. Think about Captain Jack Sparrow. He always finds a way to get ahead. Then he gets a little behind. Then he gets himself out of a scrape. And he gets back into one. He gets out of one. And to do so is to really live and to really experience life. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't strive for greater things. But when we know this, when we know that Coyote is both a good and bad figure, it's important to understand that when we see Coyote in both the modern and the ancient art of the American Southwest, as well as the northwestern Mexico. Now, Coyote was not in Mexico. Coyote expanded its range because it found the opportunity that humans presented. Humans began growing massive agriculture in the form of corn. These incredible societies blew up in the American Southwest and in central Mexico, northwestern Mexico, and they were agrarian based, growing corn. Growing corn brings in rodents and insects. Storing corn brings in rodents and insects. Rodents and insects are high on the menu for Coyote. Coyote also likes to go after any scraps or anything left out by humans. If humans are killing bigger animals and leaving bits here and there, Coyote is always looking for an opportunity to steal a bone or steal a little chunk of meat, a little chunk of gut that's left over by these humans. So Coyote would never be domesticated, but Coyote sought out the opportunity of human intervention into the natural order of things. So wolves, we domesticated wolves into dogs. And foxes now are being domesticated, but Coyote stays wild. Coyote wants to be wild, but wants to interact with us. And again, Coyote range is expanded entirely across the United States and all throughout Mexico, to the point where there were coyote cults and coyote cultures in the Aztecs. And again, Coyote was not originally from Mexico, but because the Aztecs, the Toltecs, the Zapotecs, the Chichimecas, since all these cultures became so agrarian, it invited the opportunity of Coyote to come down and take advantage of that opportunity. And now it's infused with Mesoamerican culture. You know, you see Coyote all throughout Mayan, the Aztec, and anywhere throughout Mexico, Coyote is a huge symbolic deity. But again, Old Man Coyote is still around today. I love seeing Coyote. Every time I see any coyote in the wild, it always makes me happy. Every time I hear them at night, I howl back and get a response. I love it. They are survivors, and they are survivors from the Ice Age. And again, I love the lesson we can learn from them, that, hey, you got to adapt. You got to punch up or punch down. If life is unfair to you, you find a way to survive and continue on with sacred existence. Old Man Coyote was going along is the beginning of every story. And again, that's our story too. That you were going along, you're going along in your life, you're living it. Live it richly, live it deeply, live it fully. Don't be afraid if you make mistakes. Don't sit around worrying about that forever, about how, oh, gee, I made this terrible mistake. I'm going to just bemoan this fact forever. No, jump up and okay, brush yourself off, and all right, now where are we going next? It's like Captain Jack Sparrow. That's Old Man Coyote. That's the trickster spirit. So I love seeing Coyote art, and I love seeing Coyote on petroglyphs and pictographs, and I love seeing it in modern ceramics and pottery throughout the Southwest. I love the image and the icon of Old Man Coyote. I love seeing cartoons, and I always love hearing every story I hear. Anytime any Native American friend or acquaintance or new person I meet who has a coyote story, whether it's a coyote in the wild that they saw, or a traditional legend that's been passed down, I always love to hear it and share it and pass it on. So, hope this gives some insight into Old Man Coyote, the trickster spirit. And again, this is not a paid promotion or something. I just highly recommend, please get the Coyote America by Dan Flores. Get the audiobook, listen to it while you're out going camping or hiking, because it is illuminating, and I think everybody in America should understand this history. I think it's really important. So I hope you enjoyed learning about Coyote, and always remember that life is a gift. So never stop learning and never stop exploring. We'll see you next time.